Добрый день! Вы смотрите видеоканал GameScope. Меня зовут Ира. Сегодня мы находимся в гостинице «Метрополь», где проходит пресс-конференция нового фильма «Железный, человек 3», которую приехали представлять актеры Роберт Дауни-младший и Бен Кингсли. Вчера в кинотеатре «Октябрь» Роберт Дауни-младший сам представил 20-минутный отрывок из нового фильма, а также рассказал, как он провел свое свободное время в Москве. А сегодня к нему присоединяется Бен Кингсли, чтобы рассказать о создании нового блокбастера. Давайте посмотрим эту пресс-конференцию целиком.
Пожалуйста, занимайте свои места. Мы начинаем пресс-конференцию. И по традиции ее открывает генеральный директор Walt Disney Company СНГ Марина Жигалова-Оскар.
Доброе утро, дорогие друзья. Очень приятно вас приветствовать уже традиционно на пресс-конференции. Сегодня она посвящена выходу в прокат третьей части очень популярной франшизы Marvel «Железный человек». И я надеюсь, как вы уже знаете, что в течение 3 лет бренд Marvel является частью нашей компании. Вчера было очень интересное событие, я надеюсь, многие из вас были, 1500 или даже больше железных людей, которые все собрались в кинотеатре «Октябрь», и для многих было действительно неожиданностью, что Роберт Дауни Джр. Пришел их приветствовать. Много всякой информации, но это действительно здорово. Но сегодня у нас более официальное мероприятие, сегодня пресс-конференция. И если помните, год назад в Москве, естественно, была премьера замечательного фильма «Мстители», который стал очень популярным в России. И год назад в Москве буквально высадился целый десант звезд для того, чтобы представить эту картину для российских зрителей. И в составе этой группы звезд, который и создатель фильма, был замечательный актер, который исполняет одну из главных ролей, роль миллиардера, филантропа и гениального изобретателя Тони Старка Роберт Дауни Джр. Для всех уже не секрет, что он в Москве, и нам действительно очень приятно, что через год Роберт Дауни Джр. Вернулся в Москву для того, чтобы опять поприветствовать российских фанатов и представить фильм. Но он приехал не один, он приехал вместе со своим партнером по фильму, потрясающим, великолепным актером, сэром Беном Кингсли. И буквально через несколько минут они выйдут к вам.
Я приветствую на этой сцене Роберта Дауни-младшего и сэра Бена Кингсли.
You guys take a picture? From all 3 of us?
Роберт и Бен, добро пожаловать в Москву. Спасибо огромное, что приехали. Спасибо вам за те фрагменты удивительные, что вы вчера нам продемонстрировали. Фрагменты фильма «Железный человек 3». И, пожалуй, первый вопрос будет таким. Давайте удостоверитесь, что у вас есть перевод. Итак. Большое спасибо, что приехали. Добро пожаловать в Москву.
Amazing. It's our first time at a press conference. Thank you. Ow!
One. Отлично. Можем начинать? Дорогие друзья, большое спасибо. Просьба сейчас с этого момента фотографируйте без вспышек, пожалуйста. Достаточно. Спасибо. Доброе утро, добро пожаловать в Москву. Спасибо большое, что приехали. Спасибо за фрагменты, которые нам вчера продемонстрировали. Первый вопрос. Трудно представить себе блокбастер столь же совершенный, как «Железный человек», и героя столь же совершенного, и изобретение столь же совершенное, как костюм Железного человека. Мы все понимаем, насколько высока была планка, которой вам нужно соответствовать, которую перепрыгнуть нужно, чтобы третий фильм удался, как и предыдущие два. Вот что пришлось сделать вам, как актерам, вашим коллегам по съемочной площадке, чтобы преодолеть высочайшую планку, заданную двумя предыдущими фильмами. Таков будет первый вопрос.
Sorry about this. Why? What channel? We worked this out earlier. Channel 1 or 2? 2. Thank you. Subject?
Yeah, thank you.
1, 2, 1. Thank you. No, but don't worry, I can improvise. It's a question for Robert, because I was not involved in Iron Man 1 and 2. However, I have to say that entering Iron Man 3, which was an extraordinary team to join professionally and in terms of their camaraderie, and the welcome I received when I walked onto the set from dear Robert and Gwyneth and all their colleagues, made that terrifyingly high bar of 1 and 2 manageable for me. At least they had confidence enough in me to keep me very much as a team player. So my experience of 3 was made very enjoyable and exciting and stimulating simply by the welcome that team number 1 and 2 offered me on my arrival.
It's no secret these genre movies are only as good as the bad guy, and so we were confident, obviously, that Sir Ben was a great choice. And then what occurred was, and without giving away the arc of the character, it required kind of transcending the typical, even well-done bad guy arc, and I think it required a lot of collaboration and a lot of interpretation, which oftentimes just doesn't happen. Particularly when you have a release date and you have a schedule and things are just nuts. So, but I found a real kindred spirit in Ben, schools of training, but we found that oftentimes we operated the same way. So there was no real surprise there. It just happened to really work.
Коллеги, пожалуйста, первый вопрос. Прошу вас, не забывайте представляться.
Nice to see you there. I've got two questions, one for you and one for you. Let's go for the first question with Robert Downey Jr. I was much inspired by other characters in the film who also wore the Iron Man suit. And looks like Tony Stark is not the only guy who could step into the shoes of Iron Man. Could I'm just a normal guy, I'm just a Disney Channel host. Could I actually go on and take a super suit, put it on, and go and save the world? Or do I need some sort of secret invitation from Tony Stark himself?
Fortunately, the suits need to be coded to the people Tony would allow them to be worn by. I'm not saying that you're not worthy of wearing the suit, I'm simply saying that there are some stipulations.
Rather unfortunate. I was always bothered by this question. How do good-natured people, such as yourself and Tom Hiddleston from the Avengers, how do you embody such stark villains? Where do you draw your evil from? Some scary movies at night? Where's it coming from? This pure evil.
I'm sorry to spoil your morning, but I'm actually going to answer your question seriously. The last thing an actor must do when approaching a role that's been so skillfully created as the quote-unquote baddie is not to play evil, but to remember that all the bad guys in the world have a sense of rightness and righteousness. They truly believe that their way is the true path. And even though my contribution to global badness, if you like, dramatically in this film is quite modest, I still as an actor have to remember just a little bit, for the sake of the audience, not to dumb it down and not to insult their intelligence, that every person who is compulsively bad is driven by a sense of right and a particular need. That's how I approach it. Thank you, sir.
Очень рада вас видеть, и, собственно, мой вопрос к Роберту. Роберт, вы посмотрели отрывок 20 минут вчера, вы, как всегда, прекрасно в образе героя Железного человека. Скажите, пожалуйста, вот в настоящей жизни какой-то, может быть, последний подвиг, который вы совершили там, да, в недавнее время, может быть, бабушку через дорогу привели, кошку с дерева сняли. Вот. Но прежде чем вы ответите на этот вопрос, я хотела сказать, что у нас тоже много своих героев, и одного из них я хотела вручить вам, подарить, вот, если вы будете не против. Вот. Да. Брачка. Для нашего сына она как раз она поет.
So, excellent question. My last heroic act was an emergency diaper change.
Дорогие друзья, следующий вопрос и просьба к фотографам с фотографированием, просьба, давайте уже закончим. Время истекло на фотографирование, которое нам отвели, поэтому, пожалуйста, хватит. Спасибо. Спасибо.
I have a question for Sir Ben Kingsley. Sir Ben, can you describe your character, the villainous Mandarin? Maybe tell us something interesting about him. Maybe about his rings. What do his rings symbolize? And another question is, what do you think? Can the Mandarin become more than one movie villain? Can he probably, I don't know, face against the Avengers in the next movie? So, what do you think about it?
To answer the second part of your question first, I think that would be a very, very good idea. The rings, I admire them, I polish them, I adjust them, I fiddle with them. I think that they don't have power on their own. They don't have intrinsic power, but what they do is, as part of the costume and the whole look that Louise designed for me, they do empower him. There is a very interesting use of the word glamour in the English language. The witches, when they were in a witch's coven and were preparing to work their magic, and this is very linked in with the Mandarin, they would say, I'm putting on my glamour. I'm putting on my glamour. So glamour is an old and slightly edgy word. It's to empower you. So my clothes, my costume, the iconography of the East and the West, the playing and toying with Western iconography, and also using an American voice would be very disconcerting to a Western audience and a Western population, because he sounds like a homegrown terrorist, and they are the ones that are most threatening, because as they are homegrown, they know their enemy very, very well. So those ingredients were what I poured into the pot whilst cooking the Mandarin.
Роберт, во-первых, хотел бы поздравить вас с прошедшим днем рождения. Я очень надеюсь, что наш подаренный вам шлем расписной вам очень понравился. И у меня к вам вопрос. Вам удалось сделать то, что удается сделать очень-очень редко кому-либо из актеров. Вы создали совершенно нового Тони Старка. И сейчас персонаж, который выходит в мультиках, в комиксах, он весь сделан по вашему образу, созданному фильмом. Сейчас в интернете идет очень много разговоров о том, что все еще нет официального подтверждения о продлении вашего контракта на персонажа Тони Старка в исполнении дальнейшего фильма. Скажите, а как вы видите дальнейшую судьбу Тони Старка без Тони Старка?
I just feel it's funny because I'm so happy to be meeting up with Sir Ben here, and I've been traveling kind of from the east to the west. And the only thing I can say about the franchise and my co-workers and the experience of playing Tony is this time around, for some reason or other, it took a while to catch up with me. I'm just feeling an immense kind of gratitude. I don't necessarily know how or why these films became so popular or successful. I still kind of scratch my head sometimes, but I'm noticing and being able to have this contact with fans and press and doing this tour this time around. I just feel immensely grateful. I didn't mean to avoid your question, I just don't quite know how to answer it.
I think the reason why this franchise is such an enormous success is that Robert brings to his work a degree of humanity, an understanding of mythology, a kindness, a constant self-questioning, which makes Tony so accessible. There is no arrogance, there's no pomposity, there's always that very touching grain of doubt that includes all the audience, and therefore it's a very embracing portrayal. That always connects with the audience, and it's the reason why Robert can't answer your question is he's too modest. So I'm answering it for him. He's just a brilliant actor and brings layer and layer and layer and layer to his work, and he's a joy to work with. Следующий вопрос, прошу вас.
У меня такой вопрос к Бену, скорее, наверное. Все мы знаем, что вышло две версии «Железного человека», ну, в общем-то, немножко отличающихся, европейская и китайская. Вот интересно было бы услышать, ну, может быть, не раскрывая сценария, причину такого разделения. И вопрос к Роберту. Расскажите, пожалуйста, какой-нибудь интересный случай с площадки.
No, please.
I think, as I said to the gentleman who asked the previous question, I think that Marvel were quite wise in transposing him from someone alien to the United States and Western culture to somebody who was well acquainted with that culture enough to play with it, to turn it on its head, to target various icons and precious aspects of that culture. And I feel that their thinking was that if we make him too alien, you can actually just dismiss him as a baddie, which is what I wanted to avoid, and I think the producers wanted to avoid. So rather than make him alien, we decided, alien in the sense of foreign, it was decided to make him Western and therefore more of a threat from within than a foreign threat from without. It certainly made it much more playable for me because I can't speak Chinese.
There's a lot of stories from shooting. One of them that comes to mind is, it's no mystery. The locations were very kind of a departure in and of themselves. Shooting in North Carolina and shooting in Miami, and the locations for the film were a little bit different. And for instance, we have winter scenes in this movie that we had to pile fake snow in the middle of a North Carolina town when it was 90 degrees out at night. So we had just like melting snow everywhere, and we're wearing all these warm weather clothes. We would never have that problem in Russia.
Tony Stark does appear to have such a remarkable set of different classic and rare cars, but for his spectacular disappearings and showing ups, he uses Audi R8 in different versions. Why so? Thank you.
Because we have a contract with them, I don't know. It's a cool car, by the way. Why they haven't given me one, I don't understand. I'll never understand. It's a great car company.
I have a question for both of you. What was most challenging to do while doing this movie? Maybe individual scene or something you did while preparing for this? Thank you.
Is that for both of us? I just have to show up again and remember the character I've been playing for a while. I think, people who have seen this film in its entirety so far, there's a very clever arc to Sir Ben's portrayal. And I think actually, again, the third time you make a movie is usually when you make the bad version of the movie. And our insurance policy was really asking Ben to take a rather huge risk. So being careful as we are to be silent about any spoilers. I would put it to Sir Ben about his challenge.
Spoiler alert, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think I actually love acting. I really do. And whenever I'm asked what was challenging, I never think of it as a challenge. It's such a beautiful way of life. And storytelling is such a, if one's blessed, as I am, to keep such great company, it can be a very elegant and very life-affirming profession to be in. So I suppose first I used to bless my good fortune every day for being with such a great team. And secondly, thanks to working with Shane Black, I tried very hard to stay within the moment. Theatre, as you all know, coming from a great theatrical tradition, is the integrity of the whole event, whereas filming is the integrity of the moment, and you have to stay within those tiny moments between action and cut, fully and totally. I don't find it challenging, I find it thrilling, but I hope that answers your question.
That's a question for Robert. If you were a producer of the Iron Man movies, which actor would you choose to play Tony Stark? Thank you.
I feel like I am a producer of the movies. I don't know, I mean, another thing, and I wonder if Sir Ben would agree with this, it's an odd thing to say, but I feel like people wind up doing the roles they're supposed to do, you know? There's been times when I was supposed to do something, I thought I was going to do it, and then something happened, and someone else did it, and then I saw them, and I go, that's right. And then occasionally it's the other way, you know?
I agree. In a sense, everything happens for a reason, and I do believe that there can be some forces in life that awaken a character that is already inside you, asleep. They're all inside us, asleep. Well, I think so, anyway. And an opportunity comes along to wake it up. And if opportunity doesn't come along to wake it up, it means it's not meant to happen then. But when you look at the extraordinary range of roles that Robert has played, extraordinary range of roles, it's because they're all inside him, layered inside him. And it just takes a little alarm call, a wake-up call, to bring that amazing character out of him. So it's really, they're waiting inside us. They're meant to be. That's what I think. I may be wrong. Maybe I might be right.
I just wanted to say briefly too, you know, sometimes thank you for wearing the helmet. Sometimes you go along and, you know, it's like you're on a TV show and you've been doing, you know, been on the series for 3 or 4 years, and then someone comes in to join you for a season. So for instance, it's easy to get a little, I don't want to say, you get a little disheartened, or you can lose your way in your excitement about things. And from the moment Sir Ben joined us on Iron Man 3, and we saw him on set in his full regalia, and you go, wow, that is bold. I mean, if you've seen any of the footage of the movie, I mean, he is making a statement. And it is a very vulnerable thing to do, to step into this Marvel universe and just be the Mandarin, arguably the greatest adversary Iron Man, Tony Stark, ever faces. And there was such an enthusiasm and such an exuberance. And so what he was saying before was absolutely my experience. You know, there's a great wisdom and obviously a real master craftsman, but underneath it was this just kind of like almost like a childlike enthusiasm to make sure that he was really enjoying it, you know. And I think for me, I just want to say thank you, because it really pushed me through some of the tougher parts of the movie. And hopefully at this stage in one's career, you know, we don't just want to be turn into bitter old guys. You know, you want to set an example for your peers to say, wow, this is great. You know, and we both tend to think also a little bit about, you know, an audience is going to sit down and hopefully pay to come see this movie, and they deserve to see us excited about giving them what they pay for.
У меня вопрос к вам. Вчера, когда вы представляли 20-минутный отрывок фильма, вы сказали, что все те годы, которые вы снимаете в «Железном человеке», вам было одно удовольствие как вашего героя. Так вот, мой вопрос стоит в том, насколько вы похожи с этим героем внутренне.
Well, I just think about, you know, everybody has some sort of injury, and it can either transform you into something useful, or it can break you down. And so, oftentimes, the people that I work with, who I find I connect with most, are people who you know, who have overcome certain things. And for Tony, it's just so blindly obvious. He's got shrapnel in his chest. He could die at any moment, so hopefully he can make something of himself. And instead of building weapons, he builds armor to help others.
Спасибо за ответ. У нас остается совсем мало времени, видимо, для одного или максимум двух вопросов. Прошу вас.
Welcome to Moscow, and you look great.
Doesn't he?
Both of you. The question is, yesterday had a flash mob with the fans, a big flash mob. We know it. But it was for fans, not for press, not for mass media. As for Russian movie stars, they mostly pay attention to mass media, not for fans. Can you just comment it? Thank you.
Well, I think as Sir Ben will find out in a couple of weeks, there is nothing like genre movie fans. You're going to have, you know, kids and grandparents and all that, you know. It turned into its own kind of aspect of entertainment. And I remember with Jon Favreau back in 2007, he would go out on stage and he had a little flip camera. I mean, it's all about audience participation. Particularly these Marvel films, I mean, we take a lot of our cues from what we think the fans want. You know, Comic-Con has become like the capital city of, you know, of genre movies. So, and again, I think that's part of the humility I was talking about. I just feel this immense sense of connection to this kind of aspect of the world public that I wasn't aware of before. It's really gratifying.
Здравствуйте, я
Спасибо
как
большое.
раз
Это был
ваш
последний.
фанат.
Я прошу прощения. Дорогие друзья, мы, к сожалению, должны заканчивать пресс-конференцию. Спасибо вам за теплые слова в адрес наших гостей. Спасибо.